Hey there, Cryptid family. If you enjoy the chills, don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you're new, and hit that notification bell if you're not afraid of the whispers.
The summons arrived in the least convenient way possible, flaming, shrieking, and completely ignoring the concept of personal space. Jeff was in the middle of perfecting his latest kazoo solo when the infernal parchment materialized right in front of his face, screaming, "Jeff the demon, you are summoned to court." Arthur, seated nearby with a cup of coffee, barely flinched. He lowered his mug with a tired sigh. "Jeff, why is your mail screaming?" Jeff adjusted his sunglasses, squinting at the blazing letter. Demon Court. Been a while since I got one of these." He flipped it over, as if checking for a "you might already be a winner" stamp. The letter screamed louder, its flames flaring up as it bellowed, "Do not ignore this notice." Arthur rubbed his temples. "That's concerning." Jeff shrugged. "Meh, I'll just get to it later." The parchment vehemently disagreed. It launched itself at Jeff's face, wrapping around his head like a flaming octopus. Arthur watched as Jeff flailed blindly around the room, bumping into furniture while muffled kazoo noises escaped from beneath the fiery paper. "This is the most deserved consequence I've ever witnessed," Arthur muttered, taking another sip of coffee. Jeff ripped the letter off, flames extinguishing immediately, and scowled. "Fine. Geez, no need to scream." He shook the letter. Who even reports someone to Demon Court anymore? Back in my day, you just threw a cursed pie at their house and called it even. Arthur snatched the summons from Jeff's hands and read it aloud. "You are charged with disrupting the natural order through unchecked chaos, reckless kazoo usage, and repeated acts of reality destabilization." Arthur blinked. They really named kazoos as an offense? Jeff beamed with pride. "Finally, my legacy is being recognized." Arthur kept reading. "Failure to appear will result in forcible extradition via soul-rending transport." He looked up. "What does that mean?" Jeff waved a hand dismissively. "It just means they'll rip me out of this dimension and drag me there. No big deal." Arthur's eye twitched. "That is, in fact, a big deal." The letter screamed again, vibrating in Arthur's hand like an overheating phone. "Time is running out. Comply immediately." Arthur glared at Jeff. "We have to go." Jeff grinned. "Want to be my lawyer?" Arthur ran a hand down his face. "I already regret everything." Arthur began gathering books, notes, and actual legal documents to prepare a proper defense. Jeff, meanwhile, had a very different idea of preparation. "Snacks?" Jeff asked, holding up a bag of glow-in-the-dark gummy bears. "No." "Fancy suit?" He pulled a velvet blazer from his closet, which immediately burst into flames. "Absolutely not." Jeff scooped up his kazoo collection and stuffed them into a fanny pack. "Emergency kazoos, then." Arthur snatched the fanny pack away. "For the love of no kazoos in the courtroom, Jeff." Jeff pouted. "What if there's an emergency kazoo-related situation? There will never be one of those." "Not with that attitude." Arthur ignored him and focused on legal strategy. "We need to prove you're not disrupting reality." Jeff pointed at a nearby chair, which was levitating slightly and humming. Arthur sighed. "This is going to be impossible." Jeff snapped his fingers, opening a swirling portal to Demon Court in the middle of their living room. Arthur took a hesitant step forward. "Wait, shouldn't we—" "Too late." Jeff shoved Arthur through. The world blurred into darkness, heat, and static. Arthur felt himself spinning uncontrollably as they tumbled through the infernal transportation tunnel. Then, wham! Arthur crashed onto a very sticky floor. Groaning, he pushed himself up and wiped something slimy off his sleeve. "Jeff," he grumbled, "where the hell are we?" Jeff looked around. The room was dimly lit, smelled like burnt coffee and despair, and was filled with demons clutching paperwork. A flashing, barely functional sign flickered above them. "Hell's Court, waiting room. Take a number and wait an eternity." Arthur's stomach sank. "Jeff, you misaimed the portal." Jeff shrugged. Close enough." They turned toward the reception desk, where a bored-looking demon with 6 eyes and a clipboard made of bones stared at them. Jeff marched up confidently. Hey, we got summoned for court, but I think my portal glitched. The receptionist chewed a piece of gum loudly, not looking up. Take a number. Arthur scanned the waiting room. Rows of demons sat slumped in chairs, clutching numbered tickets with 1,000-yard stares. One demon looked up at them, eyes hollow with exhaustion. I've been waiting since the 14th century. Arthur turned back to Jeff in a panic. Fix the portal. Right now. Jeff ignored him. Oh, snacks. Arthur followed his gaze and saw a vending machine labeled Soul Snacks, featuring questionable food options. Doom chips, guaranteed stomach torment, despair cookies, now with extra regret, bone shake, calcium. But at what cost? Jeff slammed his fists on the vending machine. Arthur, lend me some suffering. I want to try the Doom chips. Arthur grabbed Jeff by the collar. No, we are leaving. The receptionist sighed, flipping a page. Courtroom's down the hall. Good luck, idiots. Jeff grinned. Thanks, Janet. Arthur froze. You know her? Janet gave a slow, unenthusiastic wave. Jeff's been here before. Arthur closed his eyes, counted to 10, and followed Jeff down the long, ominous hallway toward Demon Court. As they approached the massive iron doors, Arthur muttered, "This is going to be the worst day of my life." Jeff cracked his knuckles. Or the best. The doors swung open with a heavy creak, revealing the gargantuan infernal courtroom where the tribunal of demons awaited. Arthur inhaled sharply. Jeff waved cheerfully. Hey, miss me? The tribunal glared down at him in absolute silence. Arthur buried his face in his hands. The courtroom was massive, a cavernous infernal space with obsidian walls that flickered with trapped souls writhing in torment. Demonic chandeliers hung above, dripping molten wax that somehow burned in reverse. The floor was polished bone, gleaming under the eerie glow of fire pits lining the chamber. At the front of the room stood the tribunal of the damned. 3 ancient demons, seated behind a gargantuan stone bench. Each was massive, draped in dark robes, their faces half hidden in swirling shadows. The lead judge, a towering gaunt figure with horns curved like gnarled tree roots, leaned forward, his voice echoing through the chamber. Jeff the demon. Jeff beamed, waving. What's up, dudes? Arthur's soul nearly left his body. The tribunal did not appreciate Jeff's enthusiasm. The second judge, a hunched skeletal entity with crimson fire where eyes should be, hissed, "You stand accused of disrupting the natural order." The third judge, a mass of writhing tendrils and fanged mouths, added, "And also, weaponizing musical instruments." Jeff snickered. You mean my kazoo? He pulled one out of his pocket, wiggling his eyebrows. The entire courtroom flinched. The lead judge growled. Do not play the kazoo. Arthur elbowed Jeff hard. Stop antagonizing them. Jeff grinned. Antagonizing? Nah, I'm just setting the mood. The bailiff demon, a hulking, 4-armed brute with a flaming gavel, stepped forward and pounded the ground, sending a shockwave through the chamber. The court is now in session. A burst of hellfire erupted behind him, purely for dramatic effect. Arthur winced. Was that necessary? The bailiff snarled. Yes, Jeff applauded. 10 out of 10. Excellent theatrics. Arthur prayed for the ground to swallow him. A figure slithered forward from the shadows. Jurgrax the unyielding, the demonic prosecutor, was a nightmare given form. A 3-headed, 6-eyed bureaucratic monstrosity, his long, spindly fingers clutching a massive tome of law. One head read from a scroll, voice cold and venomous. The charges against Jeff the Demon include... The second head interjected. Kazoo-induced mass hysteria in the mortal realm. The third head hissed. Summoning an unsanctioned cupcake army during a bake-off. The first head finished. And initiating a mortal flash mob, destabilizing reality itself. Arthur gaped. You caused a reality destabilization? Jeff shrugged. Define destabilization. The lead judge growled. You ripped open a hole in space-time while trying to get free ice cream. Jeff laughed. Oh yeah, that was a great day. Arthur nearly had an aneurysm. Jurgrax cleared his throats. The prosecution shall present evidence of Jeff's reckless disregard for universal stability. Arthur, still struggling to breathe, pulled out his notes. Your Honors, my client is Jeff leaned in. Say, innocent. Arthur gritted his teeth. A menace to everything I hold dear. Jeff gasped dramatically. You too, Arthur? Arthur ignored him. What I meant to say is that my client is simply misunderstood. The judges loomed closer. The lead judge's burning eyes narrowed. Do you have evidence? Arthur flipped through his pages frantically. Jeff raised his hand. I have a better idea. Arthur's stomach dropped. No. Jeff snapped his fingers. A holographic display appeared above the courtroom, replaying Jeff's greatest crimes. The footage included Jeff hijacking a Segway at the Mall of America, leading a charge against a pretzel stand. Jeff summoning an army of cupcakes that later attacked Malachi. Jeff leading a mortal flash mob in the middle of a subway station, convincing an entire crowd to dance to an improvised kazoo tune. The courtroom was silent. Arthur buried his face in his hands. We are so doomed. Jurgrax hissed. As you can see, Jeff has continually upset the balance. Jeff interrupted. I don't know, looked like a fun time to me. The jury demon snickered. Arthur turned. Wait, are they enjoying this? A small, impish jury demon whispered to his neighbor. I wish I could have joined that flash mob. Arthur blinked. Jeff, noticing this, smirked. Arthur stood up quickly. Your Honors, what my client means is that while he may be unorthodox, his actions aren't malevolent. The second judge rumbled. Explain. Arthur scrambled for words. Well, his actions have brought joy? Jeff nodded sagely. Exactly. My chaos is a gift. Arthur closed his eyes in agony. Jeff, please stop talking. Jurgrax hissed. Chaos is not a gift. It is a threat. Jeff gestured broadly. Or, hear me out. It's really, really funny. More jury demons stifled laughter. Jurgrax fumed. Enough. We have witnesses to prove Jeff's disruption. The lead judge nodded. Proceed. Arthur leaned toward Jeff, whispering. You're about to be hit with actual consequences. Jeff grinned. Let's see who they got. The doors creaked open. A furious mall security guard stomped in. A human store manager followed. And Malachi, still covered in frosting from the bake-off, walked in, eyes burning with vengeance. Jeff laughed. Oh, this is going to be fun. Arthur slammed his forehead on the desk. The massive iron doors to the courtroom creaked open with a groan that seemed engineered for maximum dramatic effect. A hush fell over the chamber as the first witness stomped inside. A furious mall security guard, a burly man in an ill-fitting uniform, stormed forward. His badge was slightly melted, his tie stained with nacho cheese, and his expression the very definition of man who has seen too much. Jeff waved cheerfully. Hey, Paul, how's the old Segway? Paul's eye twitched. You stole it, Jeff. Jeff shrugged. Borrowed. Temporary ownership. Arthur groaned. Jeff, stop talking. Jurgrax the Unyielding hissed, his three heads swiveling toward Paul. State your case, mortal. Paul jabbed a finger toward Jeff. This menace caused a full-scale riot at the Mall of America. He convinced an entire food court that their coupons could be stacked indefinitely and then led a cavalry charge against a pretzel stand on a stolen Segway. The courtroom gasped. Arthur pinched the bridge of his nose. Jeff, why? Jeff grinned. I believe in savings, Arthur. Jurgrax snarled. And how did this affect reality, mortal? Paul's left eye twitched. It caused a ripple effect across the city. The influx of confused, coupon-wielding customers clogged checkout lines for days. Retail workers began questioning their existence. One quit and became a hermit in the mountains. Jeff tilted his head. So I improved someone's life. Got it. Arthur kicked him under the table. Jurgrax nodded. Your testimony is noted. Next witness. The next figure to approach the stand was a middle-aged store manager, her name tag reading Linda. She looked exhausted, her soul carrying the weight of customer service trauma that could never be undone. Arthur leaned toward Jeff. What did you do to her? Jeff frowned. No idea. She looks fine. Linda gripped the witness stand, eyes dead inside. I used to have a normal life. Jeff perked up. Oh, I love origin stories. Linda ignored him. Then one day, A demon came into my store. She turned to the court. He bought 75 packs of kazoos. Jurgrax tilted his head. This does not seem to disrupt the natural order. Linda's lip trembled. Then he gave them away, to every child in the store. A wave of horror rippled through the courtroom. Arthur stared in disbelief. You armed an army of children with kazoos? Jeff beamed. You should have heard them. A symphony of chaos. Linda clutched her chest. For 3 weeks, the town was nothing but endless kazoo noises. Schools banned musical instruments. A local orchestra disbanded. A dog learned how to play. Arthur exhaled slowly. You rewrote their entire cultural landscape. Jurgrax's heads conferred in a whispered demonic language before turning back to Linda. And what happened when the kazoos stopped? Linda shuddered. Silence. It was too quiet. We had grown used to the sound. Now, there's just nothing. She turned to Jeff, voice barely above a whisper. We fear the silence now. Jeff nodded solemnly. You're welcome. Arthur slammed his head into the table. The doors burst open violently, and Malachi stormed inside, still covered in enchanted frosting from the bake-off. The sugar in his hair sparkled with an unholy glow, and his eyes burned with deep-seated vendetta. Jeff. Jeff grinned. Malachi. The judges shifted uncomfortably. Even Jurgrax seemed wary. Malachi pointed an accusing, frosting-stained claw. This menace turned my noble bake-off into a war zone. He enchanted cupcakes to attack me. The courtroom gasped again. Arthur whispered to Jeff. That is actually true. Jeff folded his arms. Okay, first of all, the cupcakes were defending themselves. Second of all, I distinctly remember you starting the sabotage. Malachi huffed. That is not the point. Arthur stood up. Your Honors, I'd like to point out that my client's alleged chaos has resulted in, at worst, inconveniences. Nobody has actually been harmed. Jurgrax smiled coldly. Ah, but we have one last piece of evidence. He snapped his fingers. A holographic recording appeared above the court. The hologram played a montage of Jeff's worst moments, including leading a kazoo-powered conga line through Hell's DMV, replacing an entire town's street signs with riddles, using enchanted glow-in-the-dark gummy bears to light up a haunted house, which accidentally exorcised the ghosts, interrupting a ritual sacrifice because he thought the summoning circle was a dance floor, convincing an entire stadium that the Super Bowl halftime show was too quiet, and leading a kazoo solo. Arthur covered his face with his hands. The judges leaned in. The jury demons looked impressed. Jurgrax's middle head grinned. Jeff, do you deny these crimes? Jeff grinned. I rate that performance a solid 9 out of 10. Should have included the time I made a vending machine sentient. Arthur lost the will to live. Arthur was ready to give up, but then he noticed something. The jury demons were whispering among themselves. One demon, a low-ranking imp, nudged his neighbor. Okay, but he made Hell's DMV fun. Another jury demon snorted. And that haunted house story? Hilarious. Arthur's eyes widened. They weren't disgusted. They were entertained. Jeff noticed too. His grin widened. Jurgrax, sensing his case was slipping, snarled. This is a court of law, not a comedy club. A jury demon chuckled. I mean, it kinda is now. Arthur sat up straighter. Your Honors, may I submit that Jeff has not disrupted reality? He's improved it? The judges glared. Explain. Arthur took a deep breath. Look around. Jeff's actions may be absurd, but they've created stories. They've inspired change. They've made even hell itself more interesting. Jurgrax looked furious. Jeff leaned back smugly. The lead judge sighed. We shall deliberate. Arthur exhaled in relief. That actually worked? Jeff nudged him. See? All part of the plan. Arthur stared. You had no plan. Jeff shrugged. Nope. As the courtroom murmured, Jurgrax seethed, and the tribunal prepared their verdict. The air in the courtroom was thick with tension. The tribunal of the damned whispered among themselves in a language so ancient that it made the walls vibrate. Flames flickered erratically, as if sensing the weight of the moment. Jeff, however, was completely unfazed. He was busy balancing his chair on two legs, humming to himself. Arthur, meanwhile, was practically vibrating with anxiety. "Jeff, sit normally. We are on trial for your existence." Jeff grinned. "Relax, Arthur. Worst case scenario, we get banished to the pit of eternal bureaucracy." Arthur's eye twitched. That is not a relaxing statement. The lead judge turned, eyes burning like dying stars. "The tribunal has reached its verdict." The courtroom fell deathly silent. Even the jury demons stopped whispering. Jurgrax the Unyielding stepped forward, his 6 glowing eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Finally, justice shall be served." Jeff gave him finger guns. "Right back at ya, buddy," Jurgrax hissed. The lead judge's voice echoed through the cavernous chamber. "Jeff the Demon, you are guilty of the following: disrupting the natural order, destabilizing reality, inciting chaos in both the mortal and infernal realms, and, most egregiously..." He paused for dramatic effect. Jeff leaned forward. "Oh, what is it? Is it the Segway thing? It's the Segway thing, isn't it?" The judge's flames flickered. "Weaponizing kazoos." Arthur let out a strangled noise. Jeff pumped his fist. "Yes, I made the official record. Wait, do I get a trophy?" Jurgrax looked positively gleeful. "The punishment for these crimes is clear. Jeff the Demon shall be sentenced to the pit of eternal bureaucracy, where he will spend eternity filling out redundant paperwork." The courtroom gasped. Arthur sucked in a breath. "Jeff, this is serious." Jeff stroked his chin. An eternity of useless paperwork." He grinned. "Nah, sounds like a you problem, Arthur." Arthur gaped. "Jeff, we are both in this!" Jurgrax raised his arms triumphantly. "Let the sentencing begin." The floor beneath Jeff rumbled, a swirling black vortex of never-ending tax forms and redundant waivers opening beneath his feet. Arthur panicked. "Wait, no! You haven't heard the defense's closing argument." The judges turned. "You wish to make a final plea?" Arthur nodded frantically. Jurgrax snorted. "The case is decided. What could you possibly say that would change?" A high-pitched kazoo note interrupted him. Jeff stood, 1 foot on the table, kazoo held high. "Ladies, gentlemen, and eldritch horrors, I present to you my final argument." Jurgrax's heads twitched in unison. "No." The judges leaned back, wary. "No." Arthur whispered, "For the love of all that is holy, no." Jeff took a deep, dramatic breath and played the most heartfelt, ungodly kazoo solo in infernal history. The sound reverberated through the courtroom, sending unseen shockwaves rippling through space-time. The jury demons froze. The judge's flames flickered wildly. Jurgrax's form distorted, the overwhelming sound forcing his 3 heads to vibrate uncontrollably. The great, terrible vortex of paperwork stopped swirling. Something shifted in the air. Then, the impossible happened. A single demon in the jury clapped. Then another, and another, until the entire jury section erupted into wild applause. The lower demons began chanting, "Jeff, Jeff, Jeff." The judges recoiled. What is happening?" Arthur, completely stunned, muttered, "Oh my gods, they actually like him." Jurgrax staggered back. "No, he is a menace. He is a threat." The jury demons cheered louder. The lead judge sighed. "We must reconsider our ruling." Jurgrax's form flickered violently. "No, you can't possibly..." The judge raised a hand. "Silence, Jurgrax. The people have spoken." Jurgrax screamed in rage and exploded into a pile of legal documents. Arthur stared at the papers. That feels... fitting." The lead judge turned back to Jeff. "Jeff the Demon, while your actions are undeniably disruptive, we cannot deny that your presence has brought joy, even to this court." The second judge grumbled. "I haven't enjoyed a case in 5 millennia." The third judge sighed. "We hate to admit it, but you somehow enriched both realms." Jeff did an exaggerated bow. "Why, thank you, your honors." The lead judge continued. "Therefore, we hereby overturn your sentence. However..." Arthur held his breath. We will assign a guardian to ensure you do not cause another cosmic catastrophe. Arthur narrowed his eyes. Wait, who are you? The judge pointed at Arthur. You. Arthur's soul shattered. No! Jeff gasped theatrically. Arthur, you're my court-appointed babysitter. Arthur buried his face in his hands. This is the worst possible outcome. The judge pounded his gavel. Case dismissed. The jury erupted into cheers. Confetti magically rained from the ceiling, and a victory kazoo fanfare played from an unknown source. As the portal back to Earth opened, Jeff slung an arm around Arthur. See? I had it under control the whole time. Arthur glared. Jeff, we were 30 seconds from being banished to eternal paperwork hell. Jeff grinned. But we weren't. Arthur exhaled slowly. I hate you. They stepped through the portal. Back on Earth, Arthur flopped onto the couch, emotionally drained beyond words. Jeff plopped down beside him, pulling out a kazoo. Arthur immediately sat back up. No. Jeff wiggled his eyebrows. What if... Arthur grabbed a throw pillow and chucked it at his face. Jeff blew the kazoo anyway. Arthur screamed into his hands. And thus, another day in the life of Jeff the Demon ended in absolute chaos.